Welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com. If you see us popping up here on game day, it means we got some breaking news. And Eric, that breaking news is that four-star Grayson, Georgia defensive tackle Joseph Mbatchou, a former Florida commit, while visiting Texas, has committed to the Longhorns. Texas now has 3 defensive tackles in this class. Very, very unique prospect, one that's on a little bit longer development curve, but like we've been saying over on some of our other videos, you can't teach 6'6" and you can't teach 280. He just put on the pads and he's showing a lot of promise.
Yeah, this is a very exciting commitment development overall. He's on campus right now, third time since he was offered on August 14th. Kind of came out of nowhere. Just not a lot of guys that look like him. So when people see him, they want to see him how he's going to move on the football field. You know, everybody's calling him a longer curve developmental guy, and that's because he's so new to football. But he moves so comfortably and effortlessly at that size that, you know, I'm not sure he's going to have to learn a lot of technique things, but he's a lot more comfortable in his skin than a project that Texas took like Christian Jones, who was very raw. He moves so much differently than Christian Jones as a very new to football player. That, you know, Christian Jones just worked his ass off and got drafted in the 4th round. That just gives you a little bit of understanding of how high the ceiling is for Mbatchou. You're talking about a guy that could be a first rounder eventually. Size, athleticism, and most importantly, he fills a major need or helps fill a major need. They had to go big in this class. We said at the very beginning they had to take at least 4. Actually, I've been pointing, 2 years back, I've been pointing out how big this cycle is. Every cycle's gotten more important because they have failed to address the needs. Now they've got 3 commitments with Josiah Sharman, Myron Charles, all of them significant upside. This is a monster get.
As far as fit on the field, I think we can look at Sharma and think, okay, true nose, kind of what Tavondre Sweat did. With Myron Charles, very versatile. But, I mean, if you're thinking a hypothetical defensive line with him and Sharma, you would put maybe Charles at 3 technique. Where do you see Mbatchou fitting on the field?
Well, I think, Texas tends to reverse that dynamic. We saw Tavondre Sweat play a whole lot of 3 technique, and Alfred Collins is playing 3 technique. They really like to put their longer guy that can take up space to the field side, and they like to keep the penetrator closer to the nose. So, they're going to have to change that dynamic. I kind of look at it as space eaters and penetrators. He's like Alfred Collins in that he can do both. He's not quite as big as what Collins was coming out of high school, but he's not. I mean, he's similar. He's a little bit leaner than Alfred was, but very similar athletic profile. I think he's got similar upside. It'll come down to how much he wants to work, consistency, motor, and all those things. Alfred Collins had the skill set and ability to be a 4-year player. It took him a little bit longer to develop. It's going to be up to Mbatchou, but Sharma, Charles, and Mbatchou are also talented and athletic. I think they could play either position, but number one, they can all take up space. Thinking of Myron Charles more as a penetrator than anything else, but significant upside with all 3 of them. Of course, they've got to hold on to Myron Charles, who's on a visit today, but we feel good about that.
How similar is Mbatchou to Alfred Collins? Because I feel like there's some level of connection, not 100%, but there's some similarities with the type of player both those guys are.
Yeah, the length and the ability to carry a whole lot more weight. I think Alfred was probably about 290 when he graduated high school. Now he's up to about 320, maybe 320 plus, but he carries it pretty well. He's not a really fat, he's not an overweight guy. It's comfortable on him because he's got so much frame to put it on. I think Alfred was a little bit quicker out of his stance. Some of Alfred's high school clips are insane how quick he got off the ball. But again, Mbatchou is still learning it. He's still learning what a snap count is. He's still getting comfortable out there. He hasn't even been training for football. He's just a natural guy out there. Once he starts hitting that leg day and all these explosive movements, who knows what he can possibly be. And he's also a guy like Alfred. You could play some defensive end with him. You could play 4-eye, you could play 5 tech. As he grows up and puts on more weight, he'll probably slide further and further inside the line. Number one thing, Texas in the SEC, they need big bodies that are very athletic. They need the raw clay to mold. Kenny Baker has 3 pieces to mold. This guy might have more upside than all of them. I think Sharma is probably the surest bet when you measure ceiling plus floor. And then Myron Charles has significant ceiling as well. Very bouncy, athletic guy. Maybe not as big as the other 2. But he's got the ability to make a lot of plays in the backfield, probably even more so than Mbatchou and Sharma. But these guys are going to hold up at the point of attack once they finally get some development. Now, there's still a lot more questions about defensive tackle. They need a few more guys in the class. They're going to have to hit the portal hard to address the losses of Collins, Broughton, and Lole and Norton. But this is a step in the right direction. You wish this would have happened 2 cycles ago, and then you really wish it would have happened last cycle, but better late than never.
Exactly. We'll go into what this means for Kenny Baker in just a second. But first, a word from our sponsor, LC. Take it away for Andre the Lawyer.
This video is brought to you by Andre the Lawyer. If you're injured, trust the team that secured millions for their clients and helped thousands of Texans with their injury case. Car wrecks, slip and falls, 18-wheeler accidents, on-the-job injuries, and wrongful deaths. Don't let insurance tell you what your claim is worth. Hire Andre the Lawyer to fight for you. Principal office is in Dallas, but they serve Texans throughout the state. So don't wait and call Andre the Lawyer today at 214-444-8808. That's 214-444-8808. The contact information is in the description.
We appreciate Andre. He kind of has a defensive tackle build. I'm not sure how much you appreciate that.
He could have grown into it. He offered me tickets today, and I said, "Man, there's just too much football on, and too much going on with Texas football to leave the house." I'm glad I stuck around.
I am too. We'll keep going into what Mbatchou may bring, but what does this mean for Kenny Baker? Like, we've looked at someone who not very many Texas fans knew anything about, just being an NFL in Western Kentucky and FCS assistant coach. Now he's out here landing some of the top prospects in the country. Like you mentioned, he's a top 300 guy in the On3 industry ranking. How important is this for Kenny Baker? Not just for here's a good guy to work with, but as far as working on the recruiting trail and developing this reputation.
Well, nobody can make his life easier as a coach than himself as a recruiter. He came into a very tough situation. Inherited a very shallow room, a couple of guys with experience and that were ready to play a lot, but not much behind them at all. Bo Davis was a cult hero at Texas. Some of it was warranted maybe as a coach and developer, but not as a recruiter. He was overrated in that regard. Yeah, the bus tirade. But he left Kenny Baker in a tough spot. So it didn't break my heart when Bo himself inherited a tough spot in LSU. So Baker came in. Took a lot of flack from the fans. Fans always know better than everybody else. The same fans that are wrong about Joseph and Gideon and Jeff Choate before him and PK needs to be fired. The same fans, the giant Venn diagram, about 100 circles, are always wrong at the same point. They come to conclusions way too early. You got to collect data points. You got to let a cycle play out. We saw the same thing with Chris Jackson happen last cycle, where he had his little struggles at first. When you come in January, you are way late. You are way late nowadays. You're already way behind 10 other schools that have great relationships with these kids. He hasn't even done his evaluations yet. And these guys other programs know exactly who they want and have relationships built. So you're behind the 8 ball when you get into January. And so, he kind of pulled himself up by the bootstraps this cycle. Got Sharma after losing. He lost Sharma and Charles on June 28th, the same exact day. Boy, the board was melting down. And I said, everybody, settle down. Long way to go this cycle. We're going to see a lot more excitement than normal later in November and early December. And here we are. So he's getting himself the raw materials to become a successful head coach. He's done a good job, a position coach. He's done a good job developing Alfred Collins. Alfred Collins is Alfred Collins grading the highest defensive tackle in the country? I think I saw that by PFF. So he gave himself another selling point. So he's helped himself tremendously, and it's a virtuous cycle. You get recruits, you become a better coach. You get better recruits. He's finding his way in that direction in this first cycle.
One of the really cool things that I really like about this commitment is that he was committed to Florida. Auburn is a school that has a lot of connections to Grayson High School there in Loganville, just outside of Atlanta. It's a place where much of the SEC tries to come and get talent. And yet here is Texas coming in, getting Joseph Mbatchou from Florida in the middle of a hotbed and making a statement, I feel like, in an area where we thought Kenny Baker to that point would be successful. Like, this is his area. He was at UT Chattanooga, a couple of small schools, I think.
He's from Georgia. He's from Georgia originally.
Right. Yeah. Like this is his area, and he is starting to make some hay there. And he's also doing it, coast to coast. We look at Wynn, or we look at Sharma. We look at Charles. He's in it for Kevin Wynn, obviously the Florida State commit. He has done a lot of great work on the trail, and he is deserving of some credit, kind of like Gideon, Joseph, Choate, like you mentioned, have earned over the course of the past couple of years. So, Eric, thank you so much. Fun little recruiting tidbit on game day. Make sure for full coverage of this, you head to InsideTexas.com. Also, like this video, subscribe to the channel. We'll have a lot, not just today, but all week as we get ready. About 7 days. The Longhorns head to College Station. There'll be some recruiting implications then for sure. But today we get to talk about a commitment for the Longhorns. So thank you to Andre the lawyer. Eric, thank you. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by InsideTexas.com.